everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to share my completed pages for May 2025 with you, and I'm going to start with this book here, which is Maria Trolle or Trolle. I'm not sure how to pronounce her surname. The book is Universe, and it isn't a new release, but it is fairly new to me. If you're not familiar with this book is a compilation of all the books up to the time that she released this one. So there are a few new ones since this one has been released. But what I tend to do is that some of these hard bound books can be quite expensive here in Australia to start with. So I like to hang off and watch people colour in them and see what the pages are like, the images are like. And I watch and wait and see if the price comes down. And this one did come down, so I grabbed it. And it's a lovely quality. It's a hardback book and it has really nice paper. It's a soft off-white colour and very thick. It's a nice paper, but it's quite smooth. And I had my Crayola coloured pencils out on the table when the book arrived, and I started a number of pages with the Crayola and didn't get around to finishing them off. So this month I've made an effort to complete some whips. And I wasn't sure how the Crayola would go on this because the paper is quite smooth, but as you can see, they worked quite well. This is mostly from the Colours of the World set and a little bit of green from the regular set, and I didn't feel like it needed a background. I just wanted to leave it really soft and muted like that. If I feel like it at a later stage, I can always add a background later. So this page is originally from the book called Nightfall. And I like this one because Maria has put the name of the original book down the bottom, so that if you find that there's a book that you're liking the pages more than others, perhaps you can go back and buy that book at a later stage. So I think that's a great idea. And then I did this page, started it before Easter, but didn't get it finished, and I decided to finish this one off this month as well. So Crayola coloured pencils again, the regular set, and you can see that I have layered the colour a lot more deeply and more vibrant on this page. And the Crayola coloured pencils work really well, so I'm quite happy about that. I want to try a few different things out in these books with the nicer paper to see what works and what doesn't. But that's the problem when you start buying a lot of books. You don't necessarily have the time to get to them all, so I will get there eventually. So that is a really pretty book, Maria Trolle's Universe. So I completed those 2 pages this month. Now, I took a bit of a break from recording colouring videos this month. So partway through the month, I started to feel a little bit low on motivation and lacking energy. So I decided to take a bit of a break from recording colouring videos. And this particular book here, I want to colour the whole book on camera for you so that it's there as a full series on the channel for people to refer back to at any point in time that they're colouring this book. And so I only got 1 page coloured on camera before I took that little break, and it is Lost in Time by R.J. Hampson. This is Mr. Fogarty's time travelling adventure book, and hopefully I can get the lighting okay today because it's quite a dull day, but the sun keeps popping out in between clouds, so we'll see how things go. Hopefully not too bad. So this page is One Frog Hamlet, and what I'm trying to do in this book is use a range of different brands of pencils, different types of markers, whether they be alcohol or water-based markers, different brands. And for this page I did it completely in acrylic paint markers. Now, I don't have any branded paint markers. I tend to just buy whatever's cheapest that I can get, you know, from somewhere like Temu or in store here where I live. And I don't want to spend a lot of money on them, so there are no brand names, but what I'm sharing with you is not necessarily the marker itself, but the techniques and the look that you can create with those types of markers. So this page is completely acrylic paint marker with a little bit of, tiny bit of metallic gel pen in different places, which you can see in real life, but of course it's always hard to pick that up on camera for you. So this one is on the channel, and if you're interested in seeing how I experiment with those acrylic paint markers, that page is there for you. So I enjoyed it. I think that I've got quite a lot to learn about these acrylic paint markers still, using them as just a medium on their own, but they're a lot of fun, and I like the effect that you can create with them. So that is One Frog Hamlet in Lost in Time. And the only other R.J. Hampson book that I coloured in this month is Pirates. Now, Russell has released a new version of Pirates. He's updated it to have duplicates with a difference. The original book is just 2 copies of the same images, and he's also updated some of the original images a little bit as well. So I wanted that updated copy, so I did pick it up. I haven't coloured in it yet because my original copy, I love it. I think it's a really underrated book. You don't see people colour in it that often, but I've used a lot of water in mine, and so all the glue binding has let go and my pages are all over the place. So that's another reason that I really wanted to support Russell and buy the new book, because, you know, I'd like a book that's not falling apart myself as well. So this page I did is called Where. It's a treasure map, and I did this as a bit buddy colour with Harriet at Wonky Wombats 1 on Instagram and Kate from Quilly Socks. I hope that's how you pronounce that, Kate. I'm still a bit lacking with my technical skills, so I don't know whether I'll be able to put the other pages on here for you to see. I'll try, but if I don't, I'll put all the details of Wonky Wombats 1 and Quilly Socks on the description box so you can check them out on Instagram. But Harriet and Kate and I used very similar colours, but we used them in very different ways. So that's one of the things I love about doing buddy colours, is that we all look at the same image, and we didn't discuss, the 3 of us didn't discuss what we were going to do. We just went about it, colouring it, and then showed each other at the end. But I always find it fascinating that we all look at the same image and we interpret it completely different. And also we can use similar colours and choose similar colour palettes, but use them in very different ways. So that's one of the things about colour alongs that I'm not too fussed about, because some people do get caught up in wanting their page to look exactly like someone else's, and of course it never can, because we have our own unique way of going about creativity. So thank you, ladies, for doing the buddy colour with me. I always enjoy seeing what other people do with the buddy colours, and also having the 3 of us was nice to have that other you know, that input from the 3rd person just made it a little bit more interesting again, and it was great to get to know you both in our little chats online as well. So thank you for that. And that's my page, Where. This one was done with cheap alcohol markers, so I used Aldi Creative Place markers and a few other random ones that I had around me, but no real brand names that you'll know. Again, I'm just trying to get back to very basic supplies and methods a lot of the time this month, but I like the way that turned out. And there's a little bit of coloured pencil here to help age the paper and give that burnt look, and also tiny amounts of metallic gel pen in there as well. So that is from Pirates by R.J. Hampson. Now I'm sharing these with you in no particular order, it's just the stack that I've got here to the side. So next I'm going to share with you from Camilla Derico's Pop Manga Flights of Fancy colouring book. And it's this double page here with the lovely hibiscus flowers and the bees. And I started doing this purely as a test for the acrylic paint markers, and I didn't actually intend to complete this as a complete page, but the further I got into it, the more I enjoyed the bright colours, and I just kept going and finished it off. So that's why it's a little bit disjointed. I've tried all different types of techniques here with colours that didn't necessarily make sense for a completed page, but was very useful for me as a test page. And here I got carried away. I did this part and then coloured this as a leaf, and it should actually be the rest of the flower, but never mind. It still works as a great test page. Now what I did was tried all different types of markers to see how they would look and how they work. I also tried all different types of techniques, so I've used different ways of applying the marker. I used a little bit of a test here with the water brush, adding some water to the acrylic paint directly on the page, I think that was. There's some coloured pencil. I tried some different brands over the different types of markers, and there is also some Laguerre gel pen, which came around about the same time I was doing this, I think. So I tested that gel pen range on the bees, which was great for getting some detail back. And I actually quite like the effect of the Laguerre gel pen. They give you a finish very similar to the look of acrylic paint, so it worked perfectly with these markers. So that was that double page there. So that is Pop Manga Flights of Fancy colouring book, Camilla D'Errico. And again, I've got a big range of cheap markers that are not necessarily any brand names. You know, I'm not promoting any particular brand with that. It was purely a test of what I had in my collection already. So I've done a page also in the Creatures of Ken Matsuda. This is the Hachette Hero version, and I won a set of Artex watercolour pencils this month. It was a giveaway held by Raquel at Teacups and Art. She's on Instagram and here on YouTube, so I will link Raquel's channel in conjunction with Artex. So thank you to both Artex and Raquel for holding that giveaway, and I was fortunate enough to be sent the watercolour pencils to try out. So I did this page. It's the only page I've done so far, and I quite enjoyed using them. I will definitely be using them again, and I think in hindsight I may have been able to put some deeper colours into this, but I stopped at this point. I was using this page here as my guide, and I didn't feel like doing a background on this page either, so I left it. I do have a video from start to finish of colouring this page with some bits, you know, cut out along the way, but it will give you a fair idea of how I used the pencils, how I built the colour up, and what I thought of them. So I actually find them to be quite good for a budget watercolour pencil, especially for a colouring book. They're perfectly adequate. The colours are really nice. The range of colours was pretty good, and I think that page turned out quite well as well. So that is Ken Matsuda, The Creatures of Ken Matsuda from Hachette Heroes. And that's the only page I did in that book this month as well. Next, I want to share with you Wildflower Folk from Christine Karen. And in this page, I did my one and only mermaid for Mermay this year. I just didn't get into things the same as I have in the past. So I got one completed. This is called The Little Mermaid, or just, sorry, Little Mermaid from Christine Karen. And I used Kuretake Genzai Tambi Art Nouveau watercolours for this page, and there is a video of this one as well. In the video I talk about working in layers and building your colour up in layers from light to dark, and I wanted to just try and achieve a whole page without adding anything else to the watercolour. I didn't want to add any pencil or any sort of embellishments. I just wanted to see what I could achieve with the watercolour. So this is how she turned out, and I'm really happy with the way she turned out. I did have to supplement black from the normal range of colours from the Kuretake Gansai Tambi paints because there is nothing like that in the Art Nouveau range, but the rest is just the Art Nouveau colours. And I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed getting all these watery effects, and it worked quite well in this book. As you can see, it does make the page very wrinkled and crinkled, but it did not actually bleed through. There's no bleed through there at all. So that was working with lots of light colours to build that up. So while I had that range of colours out and some still left in the palette, I went on to do this page with the same paints. Just use them slightly differently, and I haven't done very many autumn pages either this year. Autumn is one of my favourite months when it comes to colour wise, so I do normally try and get some autumn influence pages done, but just didn't this year for whatever reason. So this one is called Cup of Warmth, and I really like the way this colour here works against all the rich browns and oranges and reds and so on. So I didn't feel like I wanted to do a background on this one, and I have got a bit of a smudge here where I smudged it before the paint was dry, but hey ho, this month I'm been practicing letting go of things like that and just accepting what happens, so not too concerned about that either. But I think she turned out quite pretty. The skin did get a little bit murky and muddy, but I'm reasonably happy with it. So that was the Kuretake Gansai Tambi Art Nouveau watercolours again. And the book is Wildflower Folk from Christine Caron. Now, while I was working on those pages, what happens with watercolour is, especially if you use as much water as I tend to use, you do have to wait sometimes for things to dry. And you can use a heat tool or a hairdryer, to dry your pages off, but I find sometimes that helps the page buckle more because it dries at different rates. It dries a bit unevenly. So while I was waiting for the Wildflower Folk pages to dry, I came and worked on this page here on the left. And again, I was looking for that slightly autumn influence with the colours. And I've got a few smudges here where the paint ran as well. But again, you know, it is what it is. So I worked with the Gansai Tambi in the Art Nouveau range and also supplemented colours from the regular set. And I've got Sakura Metallic Jelly Roll Gold on there on the frame, and also some, I'm not sure if that's picking up in this light, but I've got some sparkly metallic gel pen there, which is just a cheap no-name brand one from one of the stores here where I live. So I've added a little bit of coloured pencil into there, but with the Gansai Tambi paints, what I found is that if you use them more thick or less diluted, the colour tends to dry with a slight shine to it or a plasticky feel. And if that happens, you cannot put many coloured pencils over it. They just don't seem to want to grip to it. So if you've got very diluted washes like these are around the frame here, you can overlay pencil on that relatively easy, but not if you've got thicker paint on other areas like I had on the mushrooms. It's a bit hard to pick it up on the camera because I haven't used it really thickly. It's just less diluted than here. Yeah, the pencil just wasn't working too well. So that's something else that I, was working on through the month, thinking about what are the properties of the mediums that I'm using and using them to their best advantage, and not trying to force the issue if, for example, pencil wouldn't overlay the Gansai Tambi paint. There's no point pursuing that. Learn to use the Gansai Tambi paint to its best advantage and leave it at that. So that was one of my sort of working goals this month. And there's a little bit of Sakura Jelly Roll White here because I experimented with lifting colour out once you'd applied a wash, lifting the colour out with a wet brush, clean water, and then it wasn't bright enough, so I used a jelly roll to just put those spots back onto her dress. So that's another page done in this book, and that is the story of Precious Cats from Nelko Neko. Next I want to show you a couple of pages and some whips as well. Something that I did this month was work with the Langwo gel pens, and if you're not familiar with those, the Langwo gel pens these particular ones are the 0.6mm nib. It's a very, very tiny nib. Just get one out to show you if you're not familiar with them. I think so many people have them now that they've shown them that you should have had a chance to see them at some point. Let's see if I can get that to focus on there. So it's a very, very tiny nib, which makes them great for Millie Marotta and Joanna Basford books for the small details and the mandalas and so on. Not so great for colouring large areas, but they've got quite a unique ink in them in that they end up looking a bit like acrylic paint when they dry. So you can get them in various sets of 9. So you can get some that are like a curated set of yellows or blues, and then you get these Morandi sets that have curated sets of colours. I believe Morandi was an artist, I'm not sure, but they're curated sets of colour that you can just use on their own as well. So I found them really quite nice to work with. So what I did this month was I actually got to some books that I don't normally work in. So for example, Millie Marotta and Joanna Basford are artists that I greatly admire, but I don't often know how to colour their work very well. So the gel pens were great for this sort of work, and I got a few pages done that were like repeating patterns turned into mandala style. So that was just colours that I pulled from various sets. This one here was actually started with coloured pencil and some water-based markers, some water-based fine liners, and then when the gel pens arrived, I used the gel pens, Langwo gel pens as well. And I made a note for myself here that what I've noticed is that these Langwo pens, even when they're dry, when you close your book, they do transfer to the other page. They do sort of rub and transfer. So if you don't have them and you're thinking of getting them, be aware of that. Or if you haven't used them in big amounts before, just be aware that the colour can transfer. So take some measures to avoid that if it's going to be a problem for you. I've got some pencil crumbs or something in there. So I used a bit of everything on that one to finish that one off. And this is another one that has a few different things on there. I've started it with some coloured pencils, and I went to water-based markers and fine liners, and then again finished it off with a little bit of the Langwo in places. Now this book is very handy because Millie has put a list in the back of the book to tell you what the animals, insects and foliage are, but there are no page numbers, so you do have to work it out for yourself a little bit. But I decided to ignore that completely and just do whatever colours appeal to me at the time. So that is not meant to be a lifelike rendition. So that's what I did in that book this month. I think I've got a couple of pages that I started, and what I decided was a good thing to do was leave this book next to my chair in front of the TV, and when I had nothing else to do, I just picked up a pen and chose one of the repeating patterns and coloured every one of those and then moved on to something else. So that's how I'm approaching these wallpaper pages and these very intricate sort of mandala type pages in these books. So that's Millie Marotta's Island Escape. And I'll be able to show you better in this book the effect that the Languo gel pens have as well. So this particular page here is a bit of a shocker when it comes to the colour choices, but I kind of did that on purpose. I wanted there to be a complete disconnect between the mandala in the middle and the foliage around the outside. So I did kind of do that deliberately. I call it a bit, it's a bit derogatory, but I call it ugly colouring. So this month I didn't focus on the end result so much, but more the process. So I didn't really care how it ended up. I had some new water-based markers here that I wanted to try out. I had some new gel pens I wanted to try out, and I didn't particularly care what it ended up like, to be honest. So I actually don't mind how it looks. I'm happy that the page served its purpose for what I wanted to do, and it's another page done. So there was various water-based markers around the outside, some water-based fine liners, gel pens, a little tiny bit of pencil even. Yeah, a bit of everything on there. So these have been on the go for a while, and I just keep doing a little bit every time I have a colour in my hand that I think will match these pages. I've been doing a little bit more on them. And I don't generally do wallpaper pages. I shy away from them. But using these gel pens has actually been really quite pleasant to sit and mindlessly colour. As I said, I picked a various pattern or shape or something and used that colour over the whole page, and then picked up another colour and picked up another area and worked that way. So I wanted to show you that I used this particular set here, and I also added some Gelly Roll Metallic in gold. And I just worked with one range of pens, and that's all that I put on that page. And there's quite a bit of this colour on this page, but it used maybe half of the pen up, and I think I've used this pen elsewhere as well. Now, something else I wanted to talk about, and you may know this already, but if you're not familiar with these pens, just in case you don't, what I found was sometimes working in the larger areas with that small nib was tedious and very slow, and the flow tended to dry up a little bit. So I saw somebody on a video, and I don't know who it is to give them credit, unfortunately, but this is not my idea. She said, cap your pen and keep working and you'll find that the ink will flow a bit better, and it did. But then that gets to a point where that starts to slow down again as well. So what you can do is take your lid off and then use a little bit of blue tack. This is white blue tack, and you just plug up. There's a very small, I don't know if you can see that there, very small hole in the end. You plug up that end, that hole, and suddenly the colour can flood out, and you can do big areas really easy. It's really juicy, so you use your ink up a lot quicker, but it is better for doing those bigger areas. Now, the only problem with that is that it does come out very fast and quite thick, and it takes longer to dry. And I wasn't really thinking about that, and I ended up smudging mine. I don't know if I can get this to show on the camera all that well. So I ended up smudging mine across here and then having to try and mask that again. And you may or may not be able to see the thickness of the ink sitting there on the paper as well. It's a little bit raised. If you run your finger over it, you can feel it because it's very, very thick. But hopefully you can see there a little bit of the shine. I don't know. It's a bit hard to do this. they dry with a very nice shine, very opaque, and I don't know, this is something about them that I really like. They're unlike anything else that I've got in my collection of supplies, so I've quite enjoyed working with them. And I also use them, you can see I've got quite a few pages that I've just started, and I'm just working on them in sections when I feel like it. I've got this one here that's almost finished, and that little tiny nib, the 0.6mm nib, is fantastic for getting in all these tiny little details that are in some of Joanna Basford books. So these sort of repeating patterns that become mandalas and so on. And this one is also the Langro. And these ones, I'm just randomly choosing colours from all the sets. So I'm not going for a curated set with these. I'm just playing around with the pens to see what they can do, and just trying to reach for colours that I don't normally use. So this is not really how I would normally choose to work the colours, but I'm just challenging myself to get out of my comfort zone a little bit more. So yeah, quite enjoying those, but only doing little bits at a time when I feel like it. So that's Lost Ocean by Joanna Basford. And then I think this might be my last page. Also, before I get onto that one, I thought I'd show you in this little book here too that so those Langro gel pens are great for mandala type designs like that, where you just don't necessarily want to shade, but just have some solid, vibrant, bright colour, and they're small, so those little nibs are great to get in there. And here I'm just experimenting a little bit, because my natural tendency is to always want to shade everything, but you know, that gets tedious at times, and sometimes there are just things that I don't think need to be shaded. So I'm challenging myself to just do some flat colouring. Here I also thought if I wanted to, I'd have a go at blending a couple of different colours of the gel pen together, but I haven't really done that yet. But what I was doing here was, because they are so wet and juicy when you're applying them, I've been actually purposely trying to build some texture up there, and you might see there in that bush there that I did some cross-hatching and scribbling and scumbling and so on while the ink was wet, to give it that texture, because I just wanted to play with them because they're new to me. Sometimes I don't give myself enough time to play with things, and I just jump in and want wonderful finished pages, you know, and don't allow myself to play. So that's what I'm doing there as well. And you can see where that corresponds, that the, you know, the gel pen's smudging a little bit or transferring onto that other page, and they were definitely dry when I closed the book. So keep that in mind if, you know, that's something that you've got. And my last page to share with you is from this little book. It's Peeler by Annie Wahlquist, and I used the acrylic paint markers again for this page, and my challenge was see what you can do with the acrylic paint markers without bringing any pencil in. And so that's what I've done there. It's just all different types of acrylic paint marker again. And this book is a little bit quirky. Thanks to Annika at Axic Fumbles for bringing this book to my notice. I bought this book after seeing it on her channel. The illustration style is very playful, and there's lots of thick and thin lines. It's graphic, you know, like quite strong graphic illustration in places, more softer and gentle in others. very much reminds me of a children's storybook. And so I've decided that I might like to approach the colouring of this book like a children's storybook and go for bright, vibrant colours, not necessarily all perfectly blended. You know, here I was wanting to leave texture, you know, to play around a bit with it like you see in children's storybooks. And I've only done one other page so far, which was alcohol markers with coloured pencil over the top. But maybe, again, challenge myself to do this one product only. So maybe do some water-based markers or alcohol marker pages or so on. And I know some people love to use the mixed media, and I do at times, but at the moment I'm really feeling like simplifying things to just get pages coloured very simply, low pressure, and enjoy them. So yeah, this book really does suit that sort of colouring, I think. So that's Peeler by Annie Valquist. And while I've got you here, I thought I might just share what came into the studio this month. I had a very, very quiet month for purchasing as well, thankfully, because my book collection and my supply collection is starting to get a little bit out of hand, if I'm, you know, brutally honest with you. I know there are people who've got far more than me, and they're really comfortable with that. And there are people who've got a lot less and they're comfortable with what they've got. So we all have our own threshold of, you know, what suits our purpose. But, yeah, I needed to slow things down a little bit. So this month I bought these. Again, I saw it on Annika's channel. Annika is Axic Fumbles here on YouTube and Instagram. And she shared her water-based marker collection and how she uses them. And if you've watched me, you'll know that I love water-based markers. Any sort of water-based medium I really enjoy working with. Now, I've seen these before, but they're not common here in Australia where I live. So in stores, I don't see them very often. So I did have to go to Amazon, and I've got this 65 set. They are fibre tip water-based markers. Beautiful colours. I'm really looking forward to jumping in and having a go with these markers. And so they came in this month, and I've had a very quick play, but nothing to show you yet. So I need to get stuck into something with those. And this book has been on my wish list for a while. It's Fantastic Collections from Steve McDonald. It's not a new book. It was released in 2016, and it's hard to come by now. I struggled to find it, and this came via a third-party seller through Amazon, and it's a bit banged up on the covers, which I'm a bit disappointed about because it wasn't cheap, and dirty fingerprints and so on in there. So that is a bit disappointing, but as I mentioned with the Universe book, I have a habit of, hanging off on books that are a little bit more expensive. And I don't see people colour in this book very much either. I see it in their collections sometimes, but, you know, they don't actually colour it on camera very often. But it's one that's intrigued me for some time, so I decided to finally bite the bullet and buy it, because I'm a bit in two minds, because it's a bit like Mouse Guard. If you wait too long, it goes out of print, and then, you know, unless you want to pay $100 for something, you just can't find one anywhere. So this is what has come into my studio this month, so I'm looking forward to having a go in this book as well. So if anybody has this book and they want to see a page coloured on camera, do let me know. Maybe it will be okay for a colour and chat style video, but it's quite big. Paper feels nice. I don't know how it's going to go for bleed through. but it's quite big. If I show you a Johanna Basford book next to it, you can see the size difference. So it's quite a big book. So that is all that has come into the studio new this month. So there you go. I've worked in some very different books, some very different styles of illustrations this month. I haven't always finished my pages either. I've been trying to relax my working style and just colour what I feel like when I feel like it. But to be honest, I do prefer to try and get pages finished. I don't like having too many whips around. I'd rather, get on with finishing a page, but no harm done. So that, great variety of books that I've worked in this month. Different artists, different styles, and hopefully I will get back into making some colouring videos pretty soon. I'm still, not really feeling hugely inspired at this stage, but I do want to get back into Lost in Time, so I do want to colour that one and have a record of it on the channel. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing my pages this month, and yeah, I look forward to getting back to normal pretty soon. I'm not sure when it will be, but I'm not going to rush it. But I will be back with some colouring videos. I just need to work out what sort of format most people would like to see. So just on that, before I go, I'd like to say thank you to anyone who has responded to my poll that I put up on the community post for the channel. I asked about various formats that people would like to see, and also had some really lovely feedback. So I'd like to say thank you to anyone who's taken time to do that. And if you are interested in leaving some feedback, there is a post on the community post for the channel, and I would really appreciate hearing what sorts of format videos you enjoy watching most. So I hope you've all had a good month in May. I hope that you're all looking forward to your colouring or creativity for June. I've been busy doing some other things. I've been honing my knitting skills as well while I've been having a short break. So doing lots of creative things, but in a different way. So thanks for watching today, everyone, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Take care. Bye now.